I'm Marty,
I'm Larry.
and this is the Eephus podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Eephus podcast, celebrating the crazier parts of baseball history and holding them under a magnifying glass week by week. We're glad you're here. A little note for the first episode. We plan on making this podcast entertaining and accessible for everybody. It's going to help you if you know basic baseball things such as earned run average and batting average, and things like that. But I don't think it's going to be a necessity for you to enjoy it. We're going to be focusing mainly more on the people and the stories that are involved other than the stats, although those are going to come up. So it'll help you, but you won't need to know them. So without further ado, we decided to make our first episode about the titular Eephus pitch.
Yeah, the Eephus pitch it's thrown overhand like most pitches, but what differs it from other pitches is its unusual high trajectory, almost that of a slow pitch softball. The velocity also is much slower than your usual pitch. Your usual pitch 70 to 100, and the Eephus comes in 50, even in the 40s, which is unbelievable. It kills your timing as a hitter.
Sometimes those things can go up to 25 feet in the air, too. Like a true Eephus is pretty much thrown straight up into the air. You'll see a lot of the times, especially nowadays, when somebody will just throw like a crazy curve, like a high, slow curve. Some people call it an Eephus, but that's not a true Eephus.
It's like watching a 4-year-old learn how to throw.
Kind of, yeah. They just throw it directly up in the air, and it, a good pitcher will make it land in the strike zone.
Looks yummy.
Yeah,
looks delicious as a hitter, but
like a big meatball.
Yeah,
you just don't know what to do with it when you're sitting in front of 100-mile-an-hour fastballs coming at you all day, and then somebody throws one directly up in the air.
Oh,
what do you do with that?
You cry.
Yeah,
because you're about to embarrass yourself.
But as promised, we're going to get into the history of the Eephus and how it came to be. And that all starts with a man named Rip Sewell.
That's a name.
Yeah, born in 1907. He played real briefly for Detroit in 1932. He pitched 10 innings with a horrible ERA, so he was really bad. After that, he toiled around in the minor leagues for about 6 seasons, and he wasn't very good then either. So he pretty much farted around in the Detroit farm system for 6 seasons, not doing real well. He did get another shot in 1934, so 2 weeks later he went to spring training, but he got in a fight with Hank Greenberg, and they threw him off the team.
That's not a guy you want to get into a fight with.
The manager's quote is saying, I don't hate you for that. In fact, I might like you better for it. But we've got 30 pitchers and 1 first baseman. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
So, 1938, he actually came up. He was traded to Pittsburgh at that point, and he pitched pretty mediocrely through the 39 season. And then the 1940 season, he had his breakout year.
Okay.
He went with a record of 16 wins, 5 losses, and a 2.8 ERA.
Wow, he turned it around.
That is good. Yes, I don't know. He probably started juicing at that point, but that's
tobacco juice back then.
Yeah, that's usually what happens, when you see a spike that good. But yeah, so he went from being really crappy to really good pretty quickly. So that was the 1940 season. However, it was short-lived. The 1941 season, he got hit pretty hard. His ERA went up a bit, and his win record wasn't as good. So he was starting to decline a little bit.
Okay.
And then the offseason happened.
Okay.
So December 7th, 1941, he was hunting with a buddy of his. I think it might have been Dick Cheney, because his buddy shot him in the foot with a buckshot.
In the foot?
In the foot. It's an important part of a pitcher's anatomy.
But I'm trying to figure out how he shot him in the foot. Like,
oh, look, a deer!
right. What is?
Yeah. No word on if they actually got a deer that day or not, but he did get a foot. The blast, he said, quote, "Tore holes in me as big as marbles. My leg looked like screen doors."
Oh.
His right foot took the worst of the brunt, and the doctors were unable to remove several pieces of shot.
Oh.
So he still had buckshot in his foot. That's going to change your pitching delivery a little bit.
It's going to make it a little rough to get through the airport.
We'll get to the delivery part in just a sec, but it actually may have helped him out a little bit too, because you know what else happened on December 7th, 1941?
Pearl Harbor, I believe.
The bombing of Pearl Harbor. So he was not drafted. He was 4F'd by the Army because obviously he had a meatball for a foot.
A blessing in disguise, I suppose.
I suppose. A lot of baseball players actually did go off to fight in World War II, like Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, Stan Musial, Jackie Robinson, Warren Spahn.
Jackie Robinson. You can fight in the war, but you can't play baseball.
We'll probably get into that at a later date.
Okay.
So he missed the draft. Can you imagine baseball players nowadays getting drafted to go to war? Imagine A-Rod going to fight in a war?
No, I can't.
Not going to happen.
No.
So what was Sewell to do? The doctors told him he's never going to play baseball again.
Wow, that's not good news.
Well, I mean, he might not even walk again. That's what they're telling him. You know, I mean, he basically got his right foot blown off with a shotgun.
He could strain spaghetti noodles through his legs.
Exactly. So, what's he to do? What would you do?
I would cry.
Start flipping burgers, maybe?
Yeah.
Not Rip. Rip hopped a train to spring training.
Wow.
4 weeks after he got...
I love his moxie.
Yeah. Hopped on a train with a bag of bandages and instructions from the doctor to clean his wounds twice a day if he wanted to keep his legs.
Okay, those are some instructions you might want to follow.
You may want to heed that.
Yeah.
And I think he did. He probably still cleaned his wounds twice a day, but wow. But he did go to...
back in the day when medical care was top-notch.
He did go to California for spring training, which...
That's crazy.
The craziest part of that story is that they used to have spring training in California.
Right. Usually it's now it's Arizona or Florida.
Right.
California. I guess I don't...
Crazy! Obviously, he had to alter his delivery mechanics.
Can't drive off that foot.
Yeah, he lost some velocity in his fastball.
I'm sure
I think
he did.
was probably throwing pretty hard, and then, not so much. The only other person that knew about his injury, too, was the trainer. Like, he kept it a secret from everybody. Because he didn't want to be kicked off the team.
How do you not walk with a limp when you've got a colander for a leg?
Those guys back then were hard as nails, dude. I
guess.
Like, they...
Rip, you kind of got a little hitch in your giddy.
Shut up and hand me that whiskey. That's what they had before. Steroids was whiskey.
It was whiskey.
Yeah,
that was juicing.
That was their juicing on.
I like that.
So, obviously, he needed something to keep him going. He lost some zip on his fastball.
Just a little bit.
You know, he could probably still throw a curve all right. So he came up with the Eephus. That was his out pitch.
Gave him a leg up on the competition.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
Low-hanging fruit.
Here we go. So the first time he threw it was in a spring training game against the Tigers in 1942. Ironically, against the Tigers. Wouldn't have been great if it was against Hank Greenberg.
Yeah, that'd be even better.
But unfortunately, it didn't happen. It was actually against Dick Wakefield. And this is a spring training game. So he held the ball with 3-finger grip and threw it directly up in the air with enough backspin, which Rip referred to as his secret sauce.
The secret sauce is what was oozing out of those open wounds in
so
his leg.
He's throwing it with 3 fingers.
Okay.
As I'm demonstrating. I'm sure you all can see this.
I can.
And just throwing it right up in the air. But he puts enough backspin on it so it drops right into the strike zone at the last second.
Can you imagine being Wakefield, seeing that thing come in at you?
Well, according to Sewell, here's what he said Wakefield did. Said he started to swing. He stopped. He started again. He stopped. And then he swung again and almost fell down when he missed.
So it's like those Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Exactly.
Like is this a pitch? It's a pitch, and then it's too
those
late.
Bugs Bunny cartoons are probably made right around that time, so somebody could have seen that pitch and been like, idea. So both benches cheered for Sewell, and they booed Wakefield.
Ah, that's hilarious.
They were both laughing hysterically at him.
Booing your own teammate.
So there are a couple of discrepancies on when it was first thrown in a regulation Major League Baseball game, but there's reason to believe it came April 17th, 1942, using as his out pitch to strike out Cubs center fielder Dom D'Alessandro. I think that's how you say it.
Someone like alliteration in his family.
So he'd never seen the pitch before, obviously. He's up to bat in a Major League game, and he throws this junk at him. He looked at it and watched it fall in the strike zone. The umpire called it a strike. Allegedly, D'Alessandro pointed his bat at Sewell, saying, "If this was a rifle, I'd shoot you right between the eyes."
And they weren't kidding back then.
No.
If it was a rifle, he would have shot him.
And I'm sure Rip probably pointed his foot and was like, yeah, hop in line, buddy.
Right?
And you wouldn't be the first. So the Cubs came out and argued that was an illegal pitch, but Bill Clem, the National League's supervisor of umpires at the time, declared it legal.
Nice.
And that was the final word on the matter. Like, nobody ever challenged it again. So
I like
that was
it.
that was it. Yeah. And why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's baselines, obviously, but there's no pitch line.
Nope.
As
There's
long as it falls in. Then...
unlimited arc in the MLB.
Right. So that's the Eephus came to be then. Obviously, hitters weren't happy with it.
Oh, I wouldn't think so.
I mean, especially back then, it was a mockery.
It was probably a personal slight against their family to have that pitched at them.
Yeah, pretty much. St. Louis third baseman Whitey Kurowski. Now that's a baseball name for you. That's a 1940s baseball game. Man, nobody would be named that nowadays. Like, you wouldn't be like Marlins star outfielder Whitey Bulowski. Nope.
Doesn't work now.
No.
Works then, though.
That's kind of a different connotation.
Yeah.
So he made a point of spitting tobacco juice at the ball as it floated past him.
Nice.
If he saw the Eephus, he'd just spit at it.
That's what I think about your pitch.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if he hit it.
Probably.
Like,
Maybe it's going slow enough.
I couldn't find any information on that.
No.
That's a fun little game within a game.
It is.
Yeah. Game within a game within a game, because they normally refer to the pitcher and the catcher, or the pitcher batter, as the game within
It's
the game.
very micro.
Yeah. 1943 Red shortstop Eddie Millie, he caught the Eephus and threw it back at Sewell. So he just grabbed it. He just caught it.
No,
he was
get that out of here.
Ticked off that he just grabbed it and whipped it back at him. The umpire called it a strike. So that's what we know in baseball now. I think that's probably the final word on that matter too. If you catch a ball that's pitched to you,
it's an automatic strike.
Yeah, I would think you'd be out, but Pittsburgh media called Sewell the master of the dipsy doodle.
A creative bunch there. The dipsy doodle.
You see? He's the master of the dipsy doodle,
Yeah.
see? That's
probably exactly how they did it.
Yeah. With the little spool reel.
Yeah.
Before the newsreel before the baseball or the movies in the theater.
News from the war, see? And then there's Rip Sewell, master of the dipsy doodle. He struck out the side with a dipsy doodle.
So, he didn't do great, but, he went 17-15 with record with 3.41 ERA in that first season, 1942.
With a Colander for a leg.
Yeah, basically, to call it a bum foot would be doing a disservice to bums.
Yes.
He had a hamburger foot.
Beef jerky for legs.
So, after that, in 1943, he went 21-9 with a 2.54 ERA.
Wow.
He was all-star that year.
Whoa.
And 6th in the MVP voting.
Wow.
And that's, at that point, Williams and all those heavy hitters were back. So
this makes you think, like, are other pitchers now trying to perfect the Eephus? I mean, it's effective. I'm surprised it didn't just take over.
No, I think that he was the one. Like, I don't think anybody. Like I said, it was such a slight to other people to do it that it was pretty unpopular. I mean, I think that crowds probably loved it. Mm-hmm. Like, when you see that, I mean, that's just a spectacle.
Back then, they were in their suits and bowler hats.
Yeah, exactly. And to see a big heavy hitter get struck out by one of those would just be
swinging as hard as you can, because that's what you do to that pitch.
That's what you pay your 50 cents for a baseball ticket for back in 1940.
Front row for 50 cents.
Yeah, right behind home plate. So, and then 1944 he went 21-12 with a 3.18 ERA and also was an all-star game that year. So no hitters ever hit a home run against the Eephus.
Okay.
During regular season play. There was one home run hit against the Eephus. Ted Williams always thought, he wondered out loud if it was even possible to hit a home run off of the Eephus.
Well, you think, if you look at the physics of it.
A lot of the trajectory, a lot of the force coming off that ball is coming from the speed at which it's thrown.
Right.
And then meeting the speed of the bat where it hits it, that's what gives the ball enough force to get out of the ballpark. So if a ball's coming in, like, at a drop angle,
you have to, first of all, you have to hit it at a certain angle.
And the hitter has to supply all the power. Of the force.
Yep.
Yeah. So Ted Williams wondered out loud if it was even possible to hit a home run. And foreshadowing, he got his chance. The 1946 All-Star game Sewell was playing for the National League, and it was a laugher. It was 8-0 American
Oh.
League. So they put him in the 8th inning. It was 8-0. He gave up 2 more runs, and then Ted Williams came up to bat. Ted Williams said to Rip, quote, "You're not going to throw me that damn pitch of yours, are you?"
The old dipsy doodle.
Unquote. Sewell did. And Williams missed it real bad.
Oh, really? Okay.
Real bad.
One of the greatest hitters of all time, by the way.
Yeah, probably the greatest hitter of all time. So Rip threw him another Eephus.
And
Rip said, "Come at me, bro," or something to that effect.
that version of that.
Yep. And threw him another Eephus, another dipsy doodle. Williams
Yeah.
fouled it off.
Oh, we got a piece of it.
Got contact
All
with
right,
it.
he's zeroing in on this thing. Then.
So what do you do at this point?
Throw another one.
Yeah, that's what he did. Good call.
Yeah.
Sewell shouted, "Here it comes again!"
He
Not
telegraphed
only
it
that,
too.
but he told him, yeah. "Here it comes, Williams." And he threw what Rip called himself. He referred to, and I quote, "a Sunday super duper blooper."
Clever bunch back then. Sounds like something you can get at Dairy Queen.
That's what I'm gonna. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna name my firstborn child. The Sunday super duper blooper. So Williams charged the ball like a bull,
Like Happy Gilmore style?
Yes, exactly. Took a running charge, took 2 steps out of the batter's box, and cranked it into the right field bullpen.
So not even a legal hit.
Knocked it out of the park.
But he did knock it out of the park.
Nobody called him on it. So it stood. And there's an asterisk on it. They said later, they have pictures of him actually.
Oh, do they?
Being off
Out of the batter's box
as he hit that thing. But, it still counts as a home run. But MLB rules do state that a batter's feet must always be inside the batter's box.
Huh.
So that was the only home run hit off of Rip Sewell's Eephus pitch.
Wow.
And that was in an all-star game against Ted Williams, probably the best hitter that's ever lived.
Who had to take a charge at it.
Yeah, you don't see a whole lot of true Eephus pitches nowadays, but you can. I mean, you can go on YouTube and they're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like I said before, people are real prone to calling just big slow curves in Eephus, but that's not true. If you you can look up the best one that I found is Yankees Dave LaRoche striking out Gorman Thomas of the Brewers.
Okay.
And I mean, he almost falls on his butt trying to swing it. And it's so funny. And then there's another one with a Yankees pitcher pitching it against A-Rod.
Should put that up on the website.
I think that we will.
Okay.
That will be
A-Rod,
up for view. Yeah, A-Rod when he was playing for the Rangers.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of those same kind of situations where he threw one and got away with it. And then he threw another one, same thing, right? Eephus pitch right down the middle and just cranked it right out of there.
Nice.
For a home run. So that's the Eephus pitch.
Wow.
And that's the Eephus podcast. Hope you guys had a good time.
Yep.
Where can you find us, Larry?
The Eephuspodcast.com.
Yeah. And Eephus Podcast at Facebook.
Eephus Podcast Gmail.
Yeah. Anything that's there, just look up Eephus Podcast and we'll be there. But yeah, definitely EephuspodCast.com. And check us out through Facebook.
Spread the word.
Hook up with us. Yeah, tell your friends. And thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.